Good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. Hey, what's up, y'all? It is I, MCM, your host of the amazing podcast called You're Probably Right. Here where I delve into all kinds of stuff regularly. Things that might not seem important yesterday, but tomorrow is another thing. I'm just joking. My podcast is evergreen. At least I like to think that it's evergreen. So I try to talk about a bunch of different things. But remember, while listening to my podcast, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. What do you think about that? And also, I must say that my podcast is not a Christian podcast, but it is a podcast by a Christian, therefore making it a Christian podcast. Understand? Basically, what it is that I talk about all kinds of different things, and unless I, actually have the scriptures out here in front of me, I don't claim that it is a Christian podcast because I don't want to say anything that would hurt the Word of God or the family of God in any sort of way. And we know with people and how judgmental they are, it is very easy to do such a thing. I mean, you could just call yourself a Christian and fall in some horrible way, and it will reflect bad on the family of God. So sometimes, it's like you want to be able to say who you are, but it's like, well, what if I say something that sounds a little left and, somebody takes you to task or just judges something you did or your motives for doing it or what happened, and then it's like, I knew it. All Christians are like that. It's like, it is difficult, but nevertheless, if you are a believer, let your light shine so men will see your good works and glorify your heavenly Father, and do your best. At the end of the day, it says that our righteousness is like filthy rags. Our righteousness doesn't compare to the righteousness of God. But the good thing for believers is that we are declared righteous because of Jesus living a perfect life, dying a substitutionary death, rising again, conquering death, hell, and the grave. So therefore we are declared righteous as believers, those who believe in Jesus as the Son of God, and that he is God, and that God is above all, and he has created, and there is nothing that has been created without him, because he is creator. He is omnipotent. He is all powerful. He is omniscient. He knows everything. He's omnipresent. He is everywhere. And he is sovereign. Anyhow, I'm going to get back to my podcast. I just needed to say that. And it's like, I just need to say that because I know that sometimes I probably don't say things correctly, or I don't say things, I don't get full thoughts out sometimes. I've said that before, but sometimes that is the only downside of having a podcast by yourself, is that because you're carrying the play-by-play of the podcast, it doesn't give you a lot of time to sit there in silence and really think about what you're going to say next. It's kind of like one big ramble. And if you ever look back, or listen back, which I very rarely do, you'll realize that you should have said this, you should have gone into this a little bit more, and that's about it. Okay, so this podcast today is called Said No Woman Ever. It was something that I was thinking, Someone once asked me, what my podcast is about, because I don't really tell people who I know about my podcast. I'd rather just perfect strangers from here and there all over the globe just tune in by accident or whatever, word of mouth. And therefore, the people that I know, I don't really tell them. I do tell people I have a podcast, but I tend to never really tell people what it's called. They always say, "Oh, we're going to look you up," but you can't really look it up because it's not like my first name, my last name is attached to the podcast at all, or very little of my social media is really glued to it, which isn't really a good idea if you're trying to get this thing off the floor. I would say tie all of your, eligible social media to your podcast, and try to build an organic following of your podcast. I haven't done that, but I have this podcast for different reasons, I guess. So I will never get famous, most likely, unless somebody famous ends up listening and shouts me out somewhere, which I don't really anticipate happening. But I am blessed to have the people, thousands, who have listened to me, not millions, thousands, and not very far in those either. But this podcast has honestly helped me out. Just getting thoughts out, you know what I mean? I mean, not that you can't get thoughts out with other people, but taking the time to give to really think up what you really want to talk about, and writing it out, coming up with art for the thumbnail and title of the show, and some of the content stuff beforehand, which isn't that much, not that really that hard for me for what I'm doing anyways, but it's kind of cool, anyhow. So it's going to be simple. I'm going to read off 10 different statements that you don't really hear from women too often, and this is when things are not so great, maybe a bad day in a relationship, marriage relationship, or at the end of a relationship, or after a relationship has ended, and things that guys generally don't really hear from women. So these are 10 things that you don't really hear women say. So that's why it's called Said No Woman Ever. Sorry. Okay, first one. You showed me what true love looks like. I'm gonna acknowledge, the depth and sincerity, the feelings that women also have, but as a guy, we tend to get called out on everything that we do, and everything that we do that hasn't benefited the relationship, or has been deemed or is deemed negative in society, or bad for any relationship in society. We definitely get called out on those things, as we should. And you'll be called a dog, you'll be called a deadbeat, whatever, you'll be called a loser, you'll be called a bad boy, you'll be called low value. You'll be called all kinds of things, according to your behavior and things that you've done, or things that you have been unable to do. But the funny thing, which, just talking to different guys and stuff like that, is there's been many guys who have not had the greatest times in their relationship, but for whatever reasons, their relationships end. And for the guys who have bent over backwards, now I'm talking about the guys who in a marriage did the laundry. I'm talking about the guys who rocked the baby all night. The same guy would get up in the morning and go to work. The same guy who takes care of the house, pays the bills, fixes everything in the house, Some guys who would also come home from work bending over backwards cooking, um, getting his wife's breakfast together, sometimes lunch. Maybe she wasn't a morning person, taking on all kinds of stress from, his ex's or his wife's family, um, going after all kinds of aspirations that she might have. And at the same time, while doing all of these different things, even paying alimony or childcare without being tortured and told that he must, paying more than he is really deemed necessary from what he really makes, and all these different things because he loves this woman. Maybe it's the woman. The woman is his wife, his ex-wife, the mother of his children, and for some reason, most of these guys who've bent over backwards, I'm not talking about the guys who just make babies everywhere and move on, or who are, sadly really, really good at sex, but really, really bad at everything else. You don't usually hear, "You showed me what true love is." Even if you did your best, better than your best, bent over backwards, put yourself in debt, in hock for this woman, for your relationship, for your marriage, for your kids, you will hardly ever hear a woman say, "You showed me what true love looks like." Now, she might say it to other people. She might say it to her friends after the fact. She might say it to her friends when you're together and everything is rosy. She might even say it to a new man that she is with. But you'll never hear it in most cases. And that's sad. Because I know many, 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 many men wish death upon, no. I know many men who have said these things to a woman, usually after the fact, after they've realized what they had and they lost it. A guy usually can go back at some point, usually trying to get back in, but sometimes just letting her know that, you know what, you really did show me what true love looks like. And I honestly, I fumbled. I really messed up. And, we're supposed to be the ones who are macho and egotistical, but for some reason, I've heard more men go back, more fathers, more guys who ruined marriages go back and say these types of things to their exes. Okay, number 2. I regret the way I hurt you, and I'm committed to growing from this. You, as a guy, generally don't hear this at all. Usually what you hear is, "You damaged me. You did so many different things wrong, and there were so many things wrong. You don't even know what you did that was wrong. And I understand it. I might have not been the greatest to you, but it was according to the way that I was treated." And blah, 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 blah. And it usually goes out that way. And that's usually what a guy will hear. He'll never hear, "I regret the way I hurt you, and I'm committed to growing from this." Now, the growing from this part, well, if you're committed to growing from this, great, for good for you, bully for you. You're probably not going back to this guy anyways. It would be nice. Most of the time, for whatever reason, I guess it's because of the fairer sex, the gentler sex, the more fragile sex. People will think that, most guys are just demons. Now, I know that narrative is kind of changing as women have taken on various types of masculine roles in relationships and decisions on who they will date. And many women now cheat more than ever and aren't even really hiding it that much. Everything's kind of in the open. But generally, most guys don't hear much regret from women. You'll hear them say, it was a nice time. You were my first boyfriend. I had some fun, or things were really cool. Blah 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 blah. But knowing deep in their heart that they have hurt guys as well, caused them all kinds of trauma. For some reason to hear, I regret the way I hurt you, and I'm committed to growing from this, is not usually something that you'll ever hear. Next, and this is a good one. Your happiness has always been important to me, and I hope you achieve everything you desire. You'll never hear that as a guy, sadly. In most cases. Now, I understand there's those guys who have damaged women and therefore had them waiting hand and foot to their every beck and call because they had never meant the woman that they were with any good. But for the guys that were here, someone would call them a simp. The person who didn't wear the pants in the relationship, although they were the men in the relationship. From those guys, you rarely ever hear they will rarely ever hear from their ex or even from their wife. Your happiness has always been important to me. You will hear, are you happy? Maybe they might ask, if generally, but most of the time you're hearing about they're not happy. And it's sad because there's many guys that have broken their literal backs trying to please a woman for, maybe he needs to work harder. Maybe he needs to work 2 jobs to support the family so that she and the kids can have everything that things that the kids and she wants. But to say that your happiness has ever been paramount or really, really, really important to her, in many cases, it doesn't really come up for some reason. I don't know why. It'd be nice, but your happiness has always been important to me. There's many guys, like I challenge you as a woman, if you're listening to this, ask your guy if you've ever said something even close to that to them. Especially the guys that you've left. As I said, sometimes, it takes somebody special for someone really to break down all the walls and try to give their all to that individual. Usually, if the guy, for whatever reason you believe, hasn't earned that from you, the less you will do for them, the less you really, really care. And really, really unlikely will he ever hear you say, your happiness has always been important to me, and I hope you achieve everything you desire afterwards. Because if it really was, chances are you'd probably still be together. All right, next one. Number 4, I admire your resilience and how you handle life's challenges. Now, this one, I think some guys probably have heard something like that. A lot of guys have been known to be, as they say, stoic after various traumas in their life, maybe death of a loved one, a family member, a friend, and many men have been seen as strong when these situations happen, because most of the time you don't really see guys shed tears. So therefore, it seems like they're just so strong when a lot of time, really, they're just holding everything in. It's not that they're strong. And sometimes, the way life is, a lot of the time, as a guy, you don't get a lot of time to process a lot of stuff that's happened to you. So it's not necessarily that guys are strong. It's just that they have no choice but to keep it pushing. You know what I mean? I admire your resilience and how you handle life's challenges. I wish I was as strong as you. I've heard women say that one before, so maybe not, but that might not be such a good one. Next one. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. That is an interesting one. And you probably won't hear it. And I won't say speaking from experience, but there's many guys who have stuck it out with women through thick and thin, through maybe issues in their family, to education, to maybe a business, adventure, and maybe she was able to finally succeed on some dream. But I've known and I've heard from various guys that I know that a lot of the time the stuff that you have, and I'm sure it's happened to women as well, so please don't look at it one way, but a lot of the time you're like with them almost as a stepping stone to greater things. And in many cases, the person who is still climbing the ladder with their significant other, for some reason, when they actually get to the top of that ladder and they decide to walk across into the new world, they tend to slough off everything that they had, including the person that they were with. When they go over to the other side, usually you're not there. But do they look back and say, thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself? No, usually what ends up happening is they give that credit to someone else. A friend who said something once. This person said I should take this course and I would be a good whatever. So therefore I decided to. Meanwhile, it's like, you're sitting there saying, I've been encouraging you to do this from a long, long time ago. And sadly for guys, it's usually women will either give all the props to their dearly departed father or father that's still alive, or they'll give that respect and honor to their friends. And guys are usually just there, and then usually you stay there and they usually move on, sadly. But I could be wrong, and if you don't agree, you're probably right. I don't know. Next one. I cherish the lessons our relationship taught me about love and partnership. Now, if you ever hear this one, chances are you're 73 and it's at your anniversary. But if she left you, chances are you'll never hear that one. She might say, yeah, you taught me some lessons. But I cherish the lessons our relationship taught me about love and partnership. Nah, probably not, unless she's talking about you when you're dead, standing over your grave. It's sad because, again, I think this is the type of thing that guys will say to an ex. Will say, you know what, I do cherish the lessons our relationship taught me, and I've learned to be a better man, and I've learned a lot about love and partnership. I've heard many guys kind of go down that road in regret of, say, how they've treated a woman. But for some reason, for a woman to come back and say that to a guy is almost unheard of. I know there's women like totally cussing me out for this one, but I'm just talking from a guy's perspective. I know I usually try to keep it even keel, but today we're giving it to you. And I mean, if you say some of these things or you said some of these things, well, more power to you. I'm just saying from the average guy's point of view of what I've heard. Next one, number 7, Sib. I respect your need for space and time to heal. I just laughed. Sorry. I respect your need for space and time to heal. Many guys that I know of, and I'm not internalizing. This is for entertainment purposes only, but still, I'm going to say to you that most guys will not say that their space, their time has ever been respected to give them a chance to actually heal from any of the situations that they've been with, with a significant other, their wife, and especially if they left them. Unless they don't want you back. Then you might, I respect your need for space and time to heal, call me and we could be friends. Yeah, I don't see that as being something that I've ever heard, and I don't think I'd ever anticipate hearing that either from anybody, any ex. Next one, number 8. Your presence brought joy and stability in my life, and I am grateful for that. I this one I'd probably argue a little bit, because most guys who have been a stalwart in their relationship, or a guy who has kept and held down a job for an extended period of time, or who's been there for the family, will hear that you might hear you're very stable. Now, you might not hear your presence brought me joy because of your stick-to-itiveness in your job. Chances are you're probably seen as a bore. They will tell you that they were grateful for that, because it's not saying that you're like the love of their life, or that you've made them feel like a brand new woman, or, I won't go into it, but you probably would hear you were stable. There's many guys who have held down jobs and women have left them anyways. Many guys who have taken care of the home and did this and that in the home, and the children, and put the baby to bed and brought the kids to school and cooked and cleaned and fixed and blah, blah, blah. And you'll find out that even you're doing all that stuff, for some reason, she doesn't consider that you did those things for her. Sorry. That's just the way it is. So you might hear you've been very stable, but that's not going to keep a woman in many cases, for whatever reason. Although we sometimes think it should, and it would. Number 9. I hope you find someone who compliments you in all the ways I couldn't. Now, you might hear this, but the only reason why you probably hear it is out of bitterness, or more likely it's because she already found someone, and it's kind of like, it was me, it wasn't you. And the reason why they'll say that is because they found someone, so it's okay for them to say to you now that they're happy, I hope you find someone who compliments you in all the ways I couldn't. And usually that would be an answer to some age-old situation in your relationship where there were certain things maybe you expected from her or wanted her to do or whatever it is, and she wouldn't go there, couldn't go there, didn't go there. So therefore, you guys aren't together anymore. Simple. Next one, as we hit 30 minutes almost. Last one. Our time together has shaped who I am today, and I will always value that. You know what? I think that someone might say that too. Again, the only time you're going to actually hear that one would probably be at the same time they found someone and they really do not want you back. Honorable mention and maybe more real. So the list is gone. It was a pretty simple list. Last one was our time together has shaped who I am today, and I will always value that. They might say that they believe that they're stronger. Maybe you dumped them, and maybe they believe they're stronger now and somehow better for it, and they found a better person. Yeah, or they're feeling sorry for themselves, so therefore they might say that and hoping that you'd come back or something like that. But in most cases, they found someone. So our time together has shaped who I am today, helped me get my business off the ground, or helped me finish my education. But unfortunately, I had to give you the boot. Yeah, it is what it is there. And many of you might see this one as like a sounding like a bitter podcast. Hopefully it's not. I'm just saying these are just 10 things that you tend to not really hear from women after a relationship has gone sour or over. Here's some other ones. You are the best I ever had. Unless she's trying to weasel her way back into the relationship, chances are you're never going to hear that. She might say it to someone else to disrespect you. To disrespect them about you. But the chances of them saying you are the best I ever had, not very likely. Or how about this one? These are just honorable mentions. It's not you, it's me. Many guys are probably smiling right now, wishing that they'd hear that one. It's not you, it's me. Most of the time, chances are guys will say that when they're trying to slide out of a relationship. But in most cases, you probably won't hear a woman say that to you, guys. How about this? You deserve someone who can give you everything you need. Now, again, you might hear that one if they're trying to get rid of you. Maybe you don't tickle their fancy anymore. Maybe you're not looking as good as you used to. And guys have said this one as well. You deserve better than me. Or how about this one? I'm grateful for the time we spent together. These are usually all these types of things that you'd hear after they've moved on, or when they're trying to have you feel sorry for the situation or for them. Anyhow, y'all, this might be one of those podcasts where people are probably not too happy with your man FCM, but it is what it is. So let's go over them again. Number 1, you showed me what true love is like. 2, I regret the ways I hurt you, and I'm committed to growing from this. 3, your happiness has always been important to me, and I hope you achieve everything you desire. 4, I admire your resilience and how you handle life's challenges. 5, thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. 6, I cherish the lessons our relationship taught me about love and partnership. 7, I respect your need for space and time to heal. 8, your presence brought joy and stability in my life, and I'm grateful for that. 9, I hope you find someone who compliments you in all the ways I couldn't. And 10, our time together has shaped who I am today, and I'll always value that. Anyhow, y'all, I could give you a whole bunch more that are a lot deeper than the ones that I have given you, but I think this should suffice for today. Anyhow, at the end of the day, I just wanted to say that, nothing's wrong with saying I'm sorry. Someone you hurt, someone you did bad to, someone you used, someone you didn't treat good. And if you were the person and you believe everything only happened to you, I challenge you to look deep into your heart and look at the ways that you have damaged another individual. If you have the guts. Because hurt tends to be a two-way street. A fight generally doesn't leave anyone without scars. And you may not be responsible for the scars that were inflicted on you. But at some point, I would say it behooves you to sit back and realize maybe the punches that you threw, the scratches that you gave, the damage that you caused. Maybe you've driven somebody to the poorhouse because all your needs were more important. Maybe you left someone without the ability to fend for themselves because everything was just based around you. Really look at your life and where you are now. And while you're looking at your life and maybe feeling sorry for yourself or feeling good enough to pat yourself on the back, sometimes it's a good idea to look around and see what you left lying on the wayside or by the wayside or below as you climb the ladder to success. Remember, it's never too late to forgive someone, even if they're dead and gone. It's medicine to your bones. And if they're still around and you can say, I'm sorry, and they could be there to accept it, that's a plus. Remember, nobody's perfect except for Jesus. And that God is love. And that our righteousness is as filthy rags. It's only through his righteousness that we as believers can call ourselves righteous. Anyhow, this is MCM and I'm signing off from the podcast called You're Probably Right. Take care. Hey, come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.